Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about the next topic in the chapter 1, that is weathering types, erosion and denudation. Let us see what are the types of weathering and what do you mean by erosion and what is denudation. Before that we have to understand what is geomorphic process. Nothing but the radiation energy which is coming from the earth will play a major role in the hydrological cycle along with the water, and also there is an important role of oxygen and CO2 which is present in the atmosphere, and also there is an action of organic acids which are over the rock masses will also play a very important role in the transformation of the material over the surface of the earth. These are all are the major roles which are important in the process. So, oxygen, CO2, and also organic acids which are present over the rock masses. These all will tend to change or transform the materials which are present on the surface of the earth. So what happens is all these rocks will get exposed at or near the surface of the earth, which are subjected to various physical and also chemical processes, sometimes biological processes also. A few important processes are weathering, mass wasting, erosion, transportation, and deposition. In the earlier chapters, we have already learned about ETD process, which is a cyclic process where E stands for erosion, T stands for transportation, D stands for deposition. Along with it, even weathering and mass wasting also plays an important role. Coming to weathering, what do you mean by weathering? It is a very important geological mechanism where it can destabilize the surface of the earth and the materials present on it, and also which are removed by the erosive processes. We will see what do you mean by erosive processes and how many processes are there. Actually, it is also defined as a physical disintegration and also chemical decomposition of a rock mass which is present on the surface of the earth, that is the land. This is very important. It is the physical disintegration. Like it is seen, if you take a rock, due to weathering, it is broken down into small masses and it is disintegrated, and these masses are flown out. And also chemically, the structure is also decomposed. Chemical decomposition takes place. So physically it changes and also it changes chemically. So in many reasons what happens is soils are under the ultimate products of weathering, where they releases chemical compounds which are available for biological processes also. It is noted that it is a unique phenomenon which is happening on the surface of the earth. Also, weathering is a collective term which is used to denote the mechanical, chemical and biological, sometimes organic processes which takes place on the earth's surface. Also remember, weathering of rock forming materials or the minerals can create new products from the pre-existing rocks because they get disintegrated from the parent rock. It is also necessary to study what are the factors that are influencing the weathering processes. Let us see what are the different factors which are influencing the weathering. In simple term, we can also tell that it is a natural breakdown of the rocks into minor fragments like soils and sediments. A big rock or the parent rock will get disintegrated. and form soils and sediments. There are many factors which influence the weathering of the minerals and the rocks. Let us see what are the different factors which are influencing. They are topography, climatic conditions like temperature and humidity, physical characteristics of rocks, chemical and structural characteristics of rocks, their mineralogy and structural features, vegetation, that is nothing but their abundance and type, including the micro and macro vegetation. Finally, weathering, which is involving no moving agent of transport. I repeat, first one is topography. Second one, climatic conditions, including like temperature and humidity. Third one, physical characteristics of soils. Fourth one, chemical and structural characteristics of rocks. It also involves the mineralogy and structural features. Fifth one is vegetation, nothing but their abundance and type, including the micro and macro vegetation. Finally, weathering involves, this is a point you have to remember. This is not the sixth point. It is weathering involves no moving agents to transport. Coming to the impacts of weathering, let us see what are the different impacts. These impacts of weathering are very phenomenal in nature. The nature and the magnitude of these weathering differs from place to place. The first impact is the physical modification of pre-existing rocks. This is the point you have to remember. I repeat, the first impact is nothing but the physical modification which you can see with your eyes physically. The pre-existing rock will change physically. The first impact is physical modification of pre-existing rocks. Again, there are several modifications which can be made on pre-existing rocks by with the help of mechanical forces. This is an important point, students, you have to remember. This impact is physical modification of pre-existing rocks mainly done by the mechanical forces. Chemical reactions, and biological interactions. This all happens during the process of weathering. So, These changes are expected in the pre-existing geological materials which are mainly exposed at or the near of the surface of the earth. What is second impact? Nothing but the destabilization of the masses. What happens is the strength of the mass will get reduced or the stabilization will get reduced. This weathering destabilizes the surface materials and it encourages the movable by erosion, where erosion is done by geological agents like running water, wind, glaciers, and water waves. These are the four agents which causes the destabilization of the masses. Coming to the third impact, nothing but it is a formation of soils and sediments. This is mainly formed by the parent material, the soils and the sediments. These are the products of the weathering. The soils are the products of the weathering, where it creates both the soils and the loose rock fragments. It also creates loose soil fragments or pieces. What is the fourth impact? It is nothing but the chemical modification. The parent rock not only differs in physical but also the chemical composition is changed. Here, it releases several chemical compounds from the parent rocks and leave them to support the biological processes. Coming to the types of weathering. Generally, it is a general term for several processes. Let us see. In general, there are three types of weathering. First one is physical weathering, chemical weathering, and biological weathering. We should note that the chemical and the physical weathering often go hand in hand, like they both go parallelly. But physical weathering can occur mainly due to the pressure, temperature, and the frost, etc. Coming to the first type, let us see what are the different, what are the agents which will affect and how it will change the parent rocks physically, chemically, and biologically on the surface and beneath the surface. Let us see. Also, the living organisms also contribute to mechanical weathering as well as chemical weathering. There are leeches and mosses which will grow on the bare rock. Sometimes you will find in the very old rocks. These mosses will grow the plant-like structures from the rock, which will also create a more humid chemical micro environment. If there is a small amount of water also, there will be a chances of growing of lichens and mosses. Let us see what is physical weathering. This physical weathering is also known as mechanical weathering. This is the first point you have to remember. Also, this weathering, nothing but mechanical weathering, is related to the physical breakup of rocks which are broken into small disintegrations or small pieces and also fragments. In this physical weathering, there is no change in the chemistry of the parent rock. Here, there will be no change in chemistry of the parent rock. Also, the physical characteristics of rock also influence the processing of the physical weathering. Here, the characteristics may be differential composition, particle size, the hardness, and degree of cementation. These are very important. What are the characteristics? Four characteristics: differential composition, particle size, the hardness, and degree of cementation. These are the different processes which will also affect the physical weathering. Okay. We should know that they may not be attacked by physical weathering processes. Sometimes the structure of the rock will be fully favorable to weathering activities, like the presence of joints and faults in the rock bodies are also a typical example. These are already there, not due to physical weathering. Okay, so what happens is the physical weathering happens especially in places where there are little soil or very few plants which are grown. So these are observed in mountain regions and hot deserts. Also, the types of physical weathering will include abrasion, crystallization, root wedging, isolation, weathering, human mining, animal activity, tumbling, compressional stress, crushing waves, and tensional stress. Let me list out. The types of physical weathering include abrasion, crystallization. This abrasion will form on the surface of the rock. Crystallization, that means nothing but disintegration of the rocks. Root wedging, isolation weathering, human mining. Human mining also will one of the reason of physical weathering. Animal activities, compressional stress, crushing waves, and tensional stress. Coming to the mechanisms which are involved in the physical weathering. The major mechanisms will include freezing and thawing, freezing and thawing in the cold conditions, root wedging, and heat spalling. These are the major mechanisms which are included in the physical weathering. These are seen for a naked eye. Generally, freezing and thawing can also be seen on the surface of the roads, root wedges on the rock, heat spelling can be seen in many places. One of the main reasons is the formation of ice in cracks or cavities within the rocks. These are the major things which are seen. Okay, coming to the chemical weathering, it is also known as structural by chemical weathering. The chemical and the structural characteristics of mineral present in the rocks will be get changed. This play a very significant role in weathering. Here, this chemical weathering will change the composition of rock, will change the chemical composition of rock. Chemical composition of rocks, often transforming them from water interacts the minerals to create various chemical reactions. It is also noted that chemical weathering is a gradual process and ongoing process. And also one more thing is major type of weather. It is a second major type of weathering, that is chemical weathering. This process will decompose the earth's surface materials. It is done by various agents and also they will change the chemical composition of the substance. These reactions are maybe exothermic, which are seen outside the surface, and also they result in the increase of volume of minerals that contribute to the physical disruption of the rock. The additional material is formed which will weaken the parent material. Effectiveness of chemical weathering. Coming to the effectiveness of chemical weathering, effectiveness of chemical weathering is directly related to many changes, many processes, like it will related to the strength of the parent rock, the composition of the parent rock, that is chemical composition, parent rock, and also stability of the parent rock. So here the original properties will get changed. Okay. Rate of chemical weathering. Coming to the rate of chemical weathering, they are dependent on the various factors like temperature, amount of surface area, and availability of water or natural acid. These are all factors which will help in the rate of chemical weathering like temperature, amount of surface area on which this process is going to occur, and the availability of water. Also it can also be seen like the rate of chemical weathering also depends upon the availability of natural acid. Coming to the impacts of chemical weathering, so let us see the most chemical weathering results in increase in bulk with resulting strains and stresses within the rock, and increase in bulk. I already told you there will be an increase in bulk. Like there is additional material formed which will decrease the strength of the parent material with resulting strains and stresses within the rocks. Also formation of some lower density minerals. Even there will be formation of lower density minerals. This is the additional material which is formed due to chemical weathering. Also reduction of particle size, and also there will be increase in surface area of masses. There will be, I repeat, there will be reduction in particle size. Why? Because there will be disintegration of the chemical composition. Also there will be increase in surface area of masses. There will be increase in surface area of masses. Also growth of more mobile minerals and formation of more stable minerals. Also there will be growth of more mobile minerals and formation of more stable minerals will take place. Coming to the processes which are involved in the chemical weathering are, let me discuss major processes like solution, oxidation, hydration, hydrolysis, carbonation, and dissolution. I repeat, solutions are formed, oxidation in the presence of oxygen, solutions in, there will be some liquid in nature, hydration, the presence of water, hydrolysis, carbonation, in the presence of carbon dioxide, and dissolution. These are all the major processes which are involved in the chemical weathering. Coming to the biological, that is the third weathering process. Here it is not like physical and chemical weathering. The biological or the living agents are responsible for both the decomposition and also the disintegration of the rocks and minerals. Here biological or the living agents are responsible. Okay, here what happens is this biological weathering comprises a group of processes that are caused by or sometimes are assisted by the presence of vegetation, okay, or to a lesser extent animals including root vegging, and the production of organic acids and the production of organic a- acids. Okay, organic acids. So this happens in the biological process. Coming to the erosion, what do you mean by erosion? Erosion is a process by which the surface of the earth gets worn down. Like the surface will get washed off. This is mainly caused by the natural elements such as wind and glacier ice. Here, this erosion is very important and it is caused by the natural elements such as the wind and the glacier ice. But anyone who has ever seen a picture of the Grand Canyon knows that nothing beats the slow steady movement of water when it comes to changing the earth. Because the slow steady movement of water will have a significant effect. The key to erosion is sometimes the fluid flow. Okay, fluid flow is nothing but the key to erosion. It will wash off the surface of the earth in a damn different way. Okay, you can't even imagine. They get placed from one place to another. The another thing is denudation. What is denudation? In geology, denudation involves the processes which is causing the wearing away of the earth's surface, mainly by the moving water, ice, wind, waves, and also this all will lead to the reduction in the elevation, nothing but height. If the mountain is of this height, if everything occurs, all these processes, what happens? It get destructed. So the height will get reduced, elevation will get reduced, and also relief of landforms and landscapes will occur. Overall effect of this disintegration, nothing but the wearing away and the removal of the rock material will cause a denudation. See here, due to weathering and also mass will get wasted and due to erosion, this altitude will get reduced by time to time. There are three types of activities like weathering, mass wasting and erosion. Okay, these are the three major activities in denudation. Thank you.